when you're in the driver's seat after you beat TCU, this is an unimaginable disappointment. It really is. Like, you have to leave here with something. I said this last season. You got to leave here with something. Luckily, they still have 2 more opportunities to get something with the Big 12 tournament and then the tournament, March Madness. But your margin for error is so slim.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Welcome back to another episode of Run It Back here on KCSN. I'm your host, Jazsmin Halliburton. How the hell am I going to have to start this episode the same way I started the last one? Damn. Just full of utter disappointment. Sadness. I went to bed sad and angry. I'm sure a lot of you guys know what it's like to go to bed sad and angry. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. Sleep is supposed to be a sense of peace. No. Not last night. Not after the game that we all witnessed between 14 K-State and 17 Baylor. Last home game, regular season home game of the season. K-State undefeated at home. Big 12 championship implications on the line. They didn't get it done. They didn't get it done. Now, I'm not calling this situation a piss down your leg situation. Like, this isn't the Dallas Cowboys. If you know, you know, right? This is not them. We know they're a good team. Everything's like that. But this was a game that you had to put it out all on the line for it. And it wasn't in the cards. It wasn't in the cards. And it's devastating. I mean, I know it is for me and for fans, but I know this hurts for the players. I know this probably hurts for Ayoka more than anybody, right? Because we thought her big return was going to come against KU, Sunflower Showdown, which was senior day, Saturday, right? And no, she tried to give it a go. She got maybe 4 quick points. Start the game against KU. She couldn't go no more. She played 5 minutes, I think. 5 minutes. Immediate impact when she played. She did have immediate impact. We thought it was that time again. But her foot was giving her issues, and she could only play 5 minutes of that game. Then you go into Sunday. Men's team plays Arizona State. We don't know how that damn disappointing that was. But the women's basketball team, they came out. They threw t-shirts into the crowd. Ayoka was wearing a boot. When I saw that tweet that Ayoka was wearing a boot, I was like, oh, hell. Because we all know what that means. We know what that means. That the possibility of her coming back for the regular season is done. And that's exactly what had happened. She didn't dress out again in this game against Baylor. A game that we really could have used her help in, and she knows that. You saw her at any point on the bench yesterday. You saw her face, especially when Baylor's player who got a double-double, Von Lay, was eating us up with 24 points, 12 boards, 2 steals, and 3 blocks, right? With a double-double. When Von Lay was eating us up, that's something that Ayoka knows that probably that wouldn't have happened on her watch, right? But this is nothing new to K-State this season, to being able to play without Ayoka, and they've done a good job. But we've reached the point of the season to where more adjustments now have to be made, since she was lost a little bit earlier this season, right? We know how K-State defense has been more aggressive. They played faster offensively. They got more three-point shots up since she's been out. Defensive pressure has picked up. That was working really early on in the first few games, several games that she was out. But Coach Mitty has to find a new formula for the sauce because now this ain't working no more. The double at the top of the key that was working very, very well against Iowa State and TCU that gave them issues, that doesn't work anymore because now they're making sure that they beat you up in the paint with whoever their big is. And then when you have to come and double and or triple team like they did with Von Lay, this K-State team, they kick it out to an open shooter. And now open shooters are they're shooting it. They're shooting it. They are looking at that. They are practicing that all week to, hey, get ready to make open shots because you're going to be open just because how this K-State team is playing defense. And like I said, that works very, very well the first few games that Yoki's out. But now when teams know exactly what you're going to do, they know how to beat the press. They know how to do this. They know how to do that. Just against K-State's defense. That formula is not working anymore. It's not working anymore. You had Baylor shoot 39% from 3, making 11 of those. They shot 43% from the field. The score ended up being 79-62. 79, someone scored 79 points in an octagon of doom. That's something that doesn't happen. I know Iowa State scored a lot of points last time they were here. That game went into overtime. That's what happens, back and forth game. This wasn't a back and forth game. This was damn near dominance the whole time. This was a game that Baylor took their notes when K-State lost in Morgantown to West Virginia. They took their notes. Because this was almost a damn near carbon copy of that game. Maybe 3 less turnovers from it. K-State had, I think, 21 turnovers in that game against West Virginia. They had 18 last night against Baylor. But overall, the game plan was the same. Get physical. Make sure we pound them inside. Make open shots. It's fairly simple. I'm not saying like all of us can. I'm not saying I can do it, but the game plan for the most part is simple, right? And this is how it went. This is how it went. I talked defensively about what wasn't working for K-State and the lack of gaps, but something that has now caught up or come about in the last 3 losses that they've had that, you can just tell. When other teams are physical with them, when K-State has the ball, that's where your problems lie. When you don't have a steady dose of points coming from the paint like you would with Yoki, all teams really have to do is just press the 3-point line. Their perimeter defense, the perimeter defense from Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Baylor, is all the same. Don't let them breathe. And you can really tell how much they're not letting you breathe if you look at the most elusive player on the team. And to me, in my opinion, that's Taryn Sides. We know what she's able to do when she has a free defender coming at her to try to block her 3-point shot. She busts a little move. She's one of the more elusive players that's on this K-State team. When she's not able to get any room, any dribble, any dribble off handles in order to be able to be open for a 3-point shot because they're on her behind. They're on everybody else behind too, and they're not going to have a chance to shake loose. This game, K-State shot 2 for 15. Shots weren't going in early, and that's just how it looks. They had good looks at the basket. Not all of them from 3, obviously. Shots weren't going in, but when you know that a 3-point shot could really be good right now, none of which came easy. 2 for 15. We've had this discussion before. This is a team that averages almost 9 3-point makes a game. 2 for 15. That's not going to win you this game. Has it won games in the past? Absolutely. With Yoki. Now, teams like Baylor, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, they're physical. They get up on you, like I just mentioned before. And K-State's a physical team too. Don't get me wrong. But how K-State defends and how more physical, more athletic teams defend, like K-State they use their length. That's their bargaining chip. There is their length, as that gives other offenses problems, right? These teams that I just mentioned, they're not as tall as K-State. No, they're not, but they're more physical. That's how they know. They're gonna use their physicality against this K-State team. And that's how you make them uncomfortable. And if you do that early and often, you're gonna end up with stats like this. You're gonna end up with stats like this. So K-State shooting 13% from three, 42% from the field. That's what happens. Forcing what? 18 turnovers. Baylor getting 11 steals. You do that. You take away that 3-point shot by being physical with them in the perimeter and have them turn the ball over when they finally get into the paint. That's your recipe for success right there. You've seen it 3 times. You've seen it 3 times. Space in between, obviously, not back to back. Easier teams in the meantime, in between time of those losses. But when you're heading into the postseason like they are now, you have to play for some. Regular season championship is out of reach now. Now you got to shake things up. And it sucks to have to shake things up with this late in the season where margin for error gets a whole lot smaller. And having to shake things up just a little bit more, especially since now you don't know what Yoki's future is going to be like playing. Something else got to give because teams catching on and teams are just going to get better from here on out. Something else got to happen. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that after this break real quick. I know I've been talking a lot, sulking, whatever it is, but we're going to get into more of that. But that's going to be after this break. So you know what to do. You know how to go to homefieldapparel.com. Just put it in the search bar, type it up. They got what you need. T-shirts, hats, hoodies, jackets. Doesn't even have to be school related. They got the OG type of stuff too, the vintage. Whatever you might want, you go ahead and go to homefieldapparel.com and they just might have what you are looking for. And we'll be right back on Run It Back.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
All right, y'all, welcome back. We still got a lot to dive into with this game against Baylor. And I ended it off talking about the physicality that Baylor was playing with, right? And how that physicality looks exactly what West Virginia did. It looks exactly what Oklahoma State did. I know Oklahoma State's a little bit of a weird concept because had a really tough game against TCU. So I can't say, like, for people that are online saying that they can't beat good teams, they've beaten good teams all season long. But, it was late in the season, teams get better, right? They've beaten good teams all season long. I know that game against Oklahoma State, it was weird. It was an emotional, tough game against TCU, tough win. And I think what Matey said, I think a good portion of the players might have been sick. So, like I said, never want to make excuses, but facts are facts, right? That can hinder some things. But okay, whatever, move on, right? Then West Virginia, we saw that. Press Virginia, be physical, hit open shots, make sure they can't get anything on the inside, which without 6'6" queen, Ayoka Lee, it's not the most difficult thing in the world. This is no disrespect on the points by committee coming from Kennedy Taylor, Amani Lester, and Eliza Maupin. That's not on them. But Hilke's irreplaceable, right? She's irreplaceable. So you make sure you're able to yam in the paint, hit open shots, press up on them on the perimeter. There's your recipe. That's what good teams are wanting to do. Not saying that Cincinnati was bad, not saying KU was bad, UCF, whatever. But when you have teams that will be in March, that will upset some people, that has good coaching, not new coaching, the consistent good coaching that's been in the program for a couple years, it's going to be a different story, as we have seen, right? But now, what are you going to do about it? In this game, Serena Sundell was obviously being Serena Sundell. She had 20 points, only 3 assists in this game. That's something that very alarming. they had 13 assists to 18 turnovers. Once again, this is a team that leads the country in assists. Serena Sundell leading the country in assists. She had 20 points. She was able to be physical when she had the ball in her hands. I'm not saying that this is incapable of other players, but when teams are being physical with her, she can still adapt. She can still shoot over the guard who's guarding her. She can still get past of maybe a forward who's guarding her, right? She's still able to get hers and to kind of match the physical defense that teams are playing her with, right? And Kennedy Taylor, I'm gonna give her her snaps, her props. She did an excellent job in this game. 16 points, 7 rebounds. She was pivotal when K-State was trying to make that comeback in the third quarter. K-State was down, I think, 10 points at halftime. They had to make something shake coming into the third. They started the third quarter off hot. She was getting in the paint. She was getting her bucket. She was going up against Von Lay. She was being able to make her free throws when given the opportunity. She was doing it big. She was doing it good. But it was a tale of 2 5-minute pass in the third quarter. First 5 minutes, boom, excellent. What I just mentioned, people making shots. K-State cut it down to 4 points? I want to say it was within 3 or 4 points. We was on that ass. But to me, when things changed is when Kennedy picked up her third foul. I was still early in the quarter. Coach Mitty took her off. That's not an unusual coaching tactic to have. I'm not blaming Coach Mitty for that at all. But that's when things changed, man. That's when things changed. K-State was really making a push. They were threatening Baylor at that point. That seemed fairly comfortable for the majority of the game up to that point, and ended up being comfortable for the majority of the game. But at that point, K-State was in 3 or 4 points. Then Kennedy Taylor picked up that foul. Baylor was going crazy at that point. Shot 53% or 38% from the field, 40% from 3. They were able to make, I think it might have been like a 7 or a 9-0 run, and they pushed their lead up to 14 points. It was just a 3 or 4 point game, literally moments before, and K-State was going into the fourth quarter down 14. I'm like, what the hell just happened? It had something to do with taking out Kennedy Taylor. I mean, obviously, you got to give it up for Baylor's head coach calling that timeout, getting the dogs in order, getting everyone straight and set. And it was just at that point, K-State was getting unlucky. The ball was bouncing in Baylor's way on loose rebounds, or we finally get a rebound and it touches out of bounds, and now you get the ball back, or you get a block. We're about to run the other way, and then we turn it over, and then you have Baylor hitting an open 3-point shot. Damn. When momentum was really there for you, was for them. They're following through on it. Terrence Sides made a 3. The only other 3 that was made in this entire damn game. You had momentum with you. You had the crowd on your side. Then boom, Baylor goes on this run. Open 3s. Baylor playing, saying practically shut the hell up to the K-State crowd. I mean, I would if I was a player to any away crowd that I'm facing. But it's a gut punch. It's a true gut punch. K-State ended up losing this game by 17 when you were within 3 or 4 points in the third quarter with plenty of time left. Just didn't have it. This would have been a game where you'd hope, more players show up with a little bit more. I know Tamara, you've been struggling offensively a little bit the past couple of games. Ziana Walker, she's been struggling offensively the past few games. You want to see a lot more from space. You can't just have it all be Serena. Like in years past, you couldn't have it all just be Yoki. When you have a team as good as this, when you have a bench as deep as this, when you have who could very well be, sixth player of the year in the Big 12 in Terrence Sides, someone else got to be able to make something shake. Kennedy Taylor, she did her job. Okay, she's not in this conversation right now that I'm having. Everyone else is. Someone's got to match that physicality on the offensive end that Baylor is showing you when they're all up in your grill. Someone else has got to come up big. You can't just have these 2 players weren't enough. They won enough. Someone else had to do it. And I know Terrence Size is probably That's probably the second player circled on the scouting report for a lot of teams, considering how tight that they play her when she comes off the bench, right? And these 3 losses, something that's seems to coincide is that Terrence Sides doesn't get to score a whole lot of points. Now she scored 7 points in this one, 1 of 5 from 3, 3 of 8 from the field. That's where the problems are when she's not able to at least, I don't know, make 3 or 4 shots or open threes like we like to see her shoot. That coincides with K-State losing. West Virginia, she didn't score any points in that game. What did West Virginia do? They didn't let you breathe when it comes to that 3-point line. But that's what happened. That's what happened. It's boom, it's done. Damn, you really hate, because this is copy and paste from last season. Yoki gets hurt mid-season. K-State drops a few games. They lose out on a regular season Big 12 championship. Preseason Big 12 championship, K-State now will probably finish 4th in the Big 12. I think when Oklahoma State, if they beat Cincinnati. Oklahoma State is good. Cincinnati is okay. So we know Oklahoma State, a lot of these teams in the Big 12 do. I imagine Oklahoma State will win that game. So the worst K-State can finish is 4th place. But when you're in the driver's seat after you beat TCU, this is an unimaginable disappointment. It really is. Like, you have to leave here with something. I said this last season. You got to leave here with something. Luckily, they still have 2 more opportunities to get something with the Big 12 tournament and then the tournament, March Madness. But your margin for error is so slim. It's one and done from after they play Iowa State on Saturday. It's one and done from this point out. It's one and done from this point on. Now, with Yoki's injury still to her foot, Coach Mady said that it's sore right now. I am mentally preparing myself for her not to be able to play again this season. I really am. It sucks. It's tragic. It's the shakeup that we would need this late in the season for other teams to have to worry about. But this could very well be it for Yoki in a K-State uniform. Now, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not the team doctor. I'm not the team trainer. But with her foot still being sore, for her only playing 5 minutes against KU, and this being what this is now, I don't know. Home court for the first couple weeks of March Madness, that's in question right now. I guess really depends how well they do in the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. But not losing out hope. I'm not. It's still being realistic. To like things just get harder from here on out, and they got to be able to do something to make something shake. You got to make something shake. But I'll leave y'all with that. I know I hate to sound so doom and gloom when this is still a 25-5 team, but it's the reality is, this is what fans do. It's what fans do. But I'll leave y'all with that. I appreciate y'all for listening to me gripe for the second week in a row for tough losses. Shout out to that really big win, 30-point win against KU though. But this went on. You got to hope for the best. We know this is a good team. We know what they're capable of. Changes got to be made, and I can't say that those changes are impossible to make. Our coach is going to be able to do what it do. These players are going to be able to do what it do, because they are hurting way more than I am, way more than any of us are. So they're going to make some shake. I have faith in them. But until then, between time, I'll see y'all next week. Go Cats.